parted. Back to back we were.
Western countries, especially us, snobby Europeans, we used to look down at Korean cars. But in fairness, some Korean car makers have given us plenty of reasons to do so, because things weren't always pretty. But this chapter is well and truly closed, and we welcome smart-looking Korean cars with open arms. The all-new Hyundai KONA. If this stylish urban crossover drives as good as it looks, I'm all for it. And of course, we are going to find out.
1,
2, 3.
So the new Kona is longer, wider, and I'm very much impressed with just how much space I've got in the back seat. Plenty of knee room, plenty of leg room. I've adjusted the front seat for my height. Very good headroom, middle seat. Well, the floor here is nearly flat. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. 466 liters of boot space, very practical shape of the boot, and I must say, well done, Hyundai.
this time we could break. I'm running dry, everything's the same. We'll try tonight, but this time we're not safe and sound. Not safe and sound.
And on to the cabin. The quality of the materials, the fit and finish is pretty good, and everything is looking rather smart. Moving on to practicality, large bowl of water, an easy fit out in the door bin. You've got expandable cup holders, plenty of storage space, although the shelving down here doesn't have any closing, so your clutter is just being exposed. Anyway, more storage space down here, shortcut buttons for your seat heating, seat cooling, driving modes, wireless mobile charging, and here's a neat feature. You can flick between charging your mobile or charging and displaying your mobile, although you don't need a cable to connect to Apple CarPlay or Android. 12-volt socket, push to open, very good. Now physical buttons for your climate control, very nicely laid out. You've got more shortcut buttons up here, traditional knob for volume control and tune change, very good. Let's have a look at the graphics. The infotainment system is easy, straightforward, very intuitive. I will show you the map. Crisp, crystal clear. It quickly responds to the touch of my finger. Very good. Nice steering wheel, shortcut buttons, simple, straightforward. You've got the gear lever on your steering wheel. This is convenient when you're doing a lot of in and out of car parks. Okay, so the cabin overall is nice. I do feel the end line will be just a little bit nicer. So I must get it out of the way. You hop into this car, you start driving it, and it starts bleeping at you. And it does it for two reasons. Number one, speeding, even if you're not speeding. And number two, for not paying attention, even if you are paying attention. And how could you possibly know I'm not paying attention right from the start? It's got this wonky camera that's clearly isn't very good. Now you can switch it off by going to the menu settings, but you have to do it every time you start the car. Now, I've seen other car manufacturers being part of the same annoying Greta army, but the difference is you've got a shortcut button on your steering wheel and you can simply switch it off. But here, oh no, you have to fiddle with the screen, and guess what? Then you are not paying attention. Now, apparently this is part of the EU regulations. Funny enough, I've driven the very same car in Switzerland. So a Korean car in a non-EU country following EU regulations. Well, that surely makes sense. It is irritating and quite frankly dangerous because it makes you anxious. And boy, oh boy, it really pisses you off. So we are off to a slightly wobbly start. Let's just hope it's gonna get better from here. But on to more positive things. This car is comfy, relaxing and quiet. Sure, when you hop on the motorway and pick up some speed, there is quite a bit of tire noise. It's not an amazing, but it is a very decent long distance cruiser, and it is cheap to run. So mainly motorway, and I'm averaging just above 6 liters. If you combine it with a congested city, your result will definitely be much better. The suspension is soft and it nicely absorbs any bumps, potholes and imperfections. Under the bonnet, I've got a 1.6 liter naturally aspirated petrol engine. This is actually a traditional hybrid, so HEV. I have discussed different hybrid types in a separate video, really worth watching if you're considering purchasing a hybrid car. I'll put the link to the video on the screen and also in the description down below.
And I thought, it's time I'm letting you go. This time I know it for sure.
And the switch between the combustion engine and the electric motor is so seamless and smooth that you are unaware when this is actually happening. The total power produced is 141 horses and 265 newton meters of torque that is being sent to your front wheels. It's just a nice car to trot around town. The steering is very light but responsive. Pretty good cameras. You're sitting slightly higher up, so you've got good overall visibility, including the back window. It's ever so easy to maneuver this car in and out of car parks, and size does matter, and size certainly helps here. On a twisty road, it feels relatively small, nimble, and planted, generally speaking. It does lean slightly to the side, so it still lacks some body control simply because of its soft and mushy suspension. What about the throttle response? Well, a little bit of a background info. Before I picked this car up, I have dropped off the glorious Mercedes AMG 53. And what do I do as soon as I get in here? I floor it. Well, we were off to a slightly frosty reception, and our encounter was anything but friendly.
I really thought we had it covered. Was gonna patch up all the scars, but we smashed up all the parts. Oh no, no, no.
I'm just thinking, it might sound slightly off topic, but hear me out. You see, an AMG engine is a bit like dating a girl that's a tenor. She's smooth, silky, powerful, sophisticated, just perfect. But she's not cheap to get, and certainly not cheap to run. So you're left with two choices, really. Zip it, stop complaining how expensive she is, and just enjoy the joyride for goodness sake. Or get a 5. In which case, well, you can't complain about a 5. You knew that right from the start. So come to think of it, there isn't much room to complain. And you see, cars usually are a living example of getting exactly what you have paid for. And we are talking about the 1.6 liter naturally aspirated combustion engine. Just so that we're clear. Nevertheless, I am going to floor it. I'll be gentle. The electric motor does give you a nice response, but it just takes a bit of time before we get moving, and you hear that droning sound. We've got a 6-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, and I prefer it over CVT gearboxes found in many Toyota and Lexus models. They can feel rather sluggish. Here the gear change is quick, precise, and actually quite smooth.
I can see you looking at me.
Being a hybrid, every time you slow down or you brake, you charge your battery. And being a traditional hybrid, it is all happening internally rather than plugging it to an external power source. You've got the paddle shifters here with which you can actually adjust the intensity of the region braking. This is unusual because generally speaking you can find this in plug-in hybrids. So certainly a very nice feature to have. Now when your battery is flat, it does feel like this car is slightly running out of steam with only 105 horsepower. And more of the story is that it is best suited for short to medium length commuting, city occasional long distance journeys because you've got the wonderful flexibility of a combustion engine, rather than blasting it hard on a twisty road where you're hoping to let it all out. Okay, let's wrap it up. Overall, this is a very well built crossover. Personally, I would spice it up with the N-Line, which gives you a couple of nice, stylish upgrades. This color is elegant, subtle, but I would go for something a little bit livelier, like the neon. That looks very, very cool. Now, you see, a crossover like this is oftentimes a lot more practical than an SUV, especially if you've got child seats, elderly parents, or you've got problems with your back, simply because the way it is sitting. Not too low, not too high. Think getting in, getting out. It is a little bit disappointing to hear that Hyundai decided to discontinue producing Kona N. Previous generation, I really enjoyed that car. It just adds a little bit more spark to it, and I certainly wouldn't call that engine a 5. But it is now gone. You see, it just shows you. Don't wait to live. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in my next video. Bye!